My name is Tara Phelps. I am the curator of the Tech Vegas AI Digital Marketing Club here in Las Vegas, the greater Las Vegas area. In my background, I have been a program manager for nearly 30 years, implemented large systems technologies, transformation programs, implemented technology of all sorts. I was started when we were super excited because the IBM AT came out and we had 16 kilobytes of memory. So we didn't have to do dual floppies anymore, right? So I've been around technology for a while. I've seen it transition time and time again as it's gone through its various iterations. And I've applied it in big business and then also for small businesses as well. So I've used a ton of different tools. This is one of the most exciting times ever for this particular tool. And I'm working with entrepreneurs and businesses who are interested in learning how to use the tool. Today I want to go over some of the constructs of it. I know that there's a lot of information that's out there on the internet. By and large, most of it sucks, to be fair, right? It's great. Somebody will say, hey, I have a list of 2,200 prompts that you can utilize in your business. And we all know that's pretty fake, right? Because nobody's going to save 2,200 prompts on their computer. If you imagine having 2,200 bookmarks, nobody ever goes back to go visit the 22. You use about 10, right? To be fair. So what I want to do is educate the group here on what the best approach is that I have found over the last couple of years in utilizing this. I try to excel from transitioning complicated math information into usable English. If that's not your first language, I apologize. But, so that to be able to go from a conversation with my network engineers and then turn that around and have a conversation with the CEO. There are two different dialogues, but being able to translate that in a way that's understandable is, for some reason, I am able to excel at that. So I wanted to share some of that with you. And that's a lot about what our club is about. Is not only finding out how other people are using the technology, but being able to educate amongst ourselves. This is what's working for me. Just because I present some ideas here that are working for me and some of the folks I work with, I'm always open to other ideas. So if you have those throughout the program, please let me know. The cards will come into play. So if you came in through the door and you didn't get one of my cards, please let me know. We'll show where that goes, okay? All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And hopefully the technology is going to participate with me. In the beginning, this number was important to me. Why? What happened at the end of November 2022? Anybody know? ChatGPT was released. November 30th. And I was one of those people, probably the next day, December 1st or so, I decided to sign up for this latest, greatest thing. And I was assigned this number. I got an email that said, you are 385,311. I went, well, it's going to be a while before I have access to this thing, right? It took Facebook 2.5 years to get 1 million members. So I might be waiting for a little while. 4 days later, I got an email that said, you've been given access. ChatGPT had 1 million subscribers in under 1 week. 1 million. Now, if you think about the closest that came to that was Instagram. When Facebook released Instagram, it took them 2.5 months to get to 1 million subscribers. Now, they already had a user base, right? So they basically piggybacked on top of their own user base to get to 1 million subscribers. But most of the other platforms, it took years in order to get to that. The number now, we have about close to 200 million users across the world that have access to ChatGPT. There's also obviously a number of other chatbots that have come up since then. But I would say that I was probably an early adopter. Of course, as soon as I logged in, it told me that I couldn't use it because too many users were on it, and that took a few other months for them to work out. But I was pretty early on. And here's the experience of signing up for ChatGPT in the early days. You go, wow, I have access. How can I help you today? And you're given this blank prompt, and you're like, what the hell do I do with this? How do I use this? This is going to change my business? I don't even know. And at the time, they had one of these little prompt boxes, right? So most folks, to be fair, of the 200 million users, most of those, less than 0.03%, actually use this tool effectively in any way. Why? Because it's a different approach and it's a different understanding to what we have become to know as Google and keywords and those types of things that we're now familiar with. But the language and the methodology for this particular tool is a bit different. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to start off with what is the foundation here and sort of define some of the variables that we're talking about in order to be able to use this tool pretty effectively. So 2 pieces of information most folks get. I just want to make sure that we're all level setting here. It's the same thing. So artificial intelligence is a simulation of human intelligence in machines that can perform tasks, learn from the experiences, and adapt to new situations. AI has been around for a long time. Let's be fair. It's been close to 20 years. It obviously has not been leveraged or utilized in the way that it's being utilized today. But essentially, any of you who are using any of these tools are now programmers. Didn't think about that, right? But you're now all programmers in some way. And we'll talk about how that is. Generative AI, which is really the tool that you're talking about for ChatGPT and for marketing. So these are the text to video tools. These are the image generation tools. These are the programming development tools. These are generative AI. And generative AI is the next level, which is this type of intelligence that results in new data, right? So images, text, code. And it's utilizing an algorithm to be able to look at the patterns of information on the internet now, to be able to produce new content that mimics, right? So it's going out and it's mimicking data that already exists. So it's basically going out through its neural networks and through its languaging to be able to go grab information, combine it together as new information, and present it in a natural language that we understand. It sounds like it's human when you get this information back. If you've ever created a prompt and asked it to give you information back, it generally gives it back to you in the language that you requested it in. It sounds like normal language, but behind the scenes, remember, you're creating a prompt. That prompt is converted into zeros and ones, and through the training, it's going out and grabbing those zeros and ones and those patterns that are out in the internet. So this is the programming that you're all doing. So I get this question a lot. What does that GPT stand for? Well, some marketing guys didn't come up with this. It's clearly some data scientists, right? You would think that the tool that's used for marketing would come up with a better name. But anyway, generative, because it's generating new information, it's pre-trained. So it's that is your algorithm. It's pre-trained that it's utilizing on those data sets. And then it transforms the information that it brings back to you. That's why it's called ChatGPT. The chat in the part is because it's the human chat bot interaction. There are actually other data sets and programming that's available that are not chat-based. They are more programmatic based. So these would be data coding, et cetera, that you would be looking at, so you can create your own large language model. You would do that through coding and algorithms. But this particular tool that was released in November is a chat bot intended to communicate to a person and come back in a natural language versus coding. Does that make sense? Yep. So that's why it's a bit different than Google and keywords, right? But that's more of an indexing type of process. This is really a separate process that's reaching out to be able to go grab from a data set, and we'll talk through that a little bit more in terms of prompting, and bring it back to you in a natural language that is familiar to you. So it's a big difference, right? The construct is different. So before I get into the juicy bits and the sexy stuff that you guys are all going to help me with, I want to talk a little bit about some of the news in Gen AI. So, of course, you have the big folks, OpenAI, Google, Apple is doing development of their own chatbot, Copilot, etc. Well, guess what? Elon didn't want to be left out, so he's gone ahead and created his own, this is the latest news, right? It's called Grok. Who are these marketing guys? I don't know, like Bard, Google came out with, it was called Bard, and then they transitioned that to Gemini, which, you know. But anyway, they have their new tool. Right now it's a paid for tool, so if you're interested in yet another chatbot that you can utilize, there is one via Twitter if you're a paid Twitter person. More exciting news for those of us who are in this generative AI space, NVIDIA, which is the leading market share, they produce the chips and the marketing boards that are doing all of the processing of all of these requests that the 100 million folks are submitting. They have a conference up in San Jose this year. It's a big conference. The CEO, James Wang, is doing a live broadcast on Monday from 1 to 3. That's for free, so if anybody logs in and you want to listen to what he has to say about where their products are going, generative AI, they are a leader in the market space, so it's going to be interesting to understand. He has some very unique perspectives on where generative AI is going to go, predicting such things that while we are talking to you now about prompting, that essentially it'll be somewhat similar to your phone via Siri, that you'll just ask for things. It's a little Star Trek, right? You just ask for it and it magically appears. Computer, you know, and data asks that. That's the direction we're probably heading. But for right now, yes.
What day in San Jose?
Monday. This coming up Monday is the conference. So I unfortunately cannot attend live, but there is, you can attend some of the workshops virtually. It's less expensive than the conference is almost $3,000 to go live in person, but his keynote address is free. So that's probably going to be, you know, one of the best parts. The other part that I also wanted to present in terms of legal news, so this is important for those of us who are creators. If you're creating music, if you're creating images, if you're creating copy, particularly for a client or something that needs to be copyrighted, the trademark office and patents offices are now accepting comments. They eventually are going to copyright AI assisted and developed words, content, etc. Up to now, it has not been something that you can submit for copyright. So anything that you generate via chatbot or AI tools cannot be patentable, because it's, think about it, right? It's an amalgamation of other people's stuff, to be fair. So, but what they're looking at is what that will be. So this will be industry changing. When Coke and Pepsi and our Fortune 100, et cetera, are able to utilize AI, and other companies as well are able to create utilizing AI and patent that. So think about all of the inventions and the development of software, et cetera, that we'll be able to patent. So it'll be pretty exciting stuff. All right, you guys ready to get in the meat of everything? Okay. So most folks, there's a couple of different ways. When you create a prompt, how do you structure this? How do you talk to this thing, right? As I said, it's a chatbot. It's expecting a human experience. When I first got onto ChatGTP, they didn't have the information about prompt engineering. They didn't have the information about personas. They didn't have much, right? It was just primarily that prompt. They have since come out with guidelines on that, so if you go to OpenAI, you can take a look at that. But fundamentally, this is a great prompt structure to understand the variables and the parameters that you need to be able to create a prompt. So what that's doing, and as you can see as you work through that, you are a persona. Who are you? It's going to chat with you. Who are you? I want to know who I'm talking to. And if you're looking for what business or industry are you in? These are parameters that are taking that huge data set that's out there and condensing it down further and condensing it down further by using all these parameters. Now, you would never go to Google and type in 10 different keywords to get a response back for what you're looking for. You would never do that, right? You wouldn't say, hey, I want to go to Italy and do a trip to Rome, right? You wouldn't type in Italy, Rome, hotel, on and on and on and on, right down to the street. But guess what? You now have a tool that will get you the context that you want to be able to do. Two entirely different systems, right? So you're paring it down. And as you go through, you can see all of these different pieces of information are intended to get you a more specific answer. Without this, you could say, hey, just give me a product brochure for a travel agency. And you will get one because it's been trained to respond to you. Remember that pre-trained? It's pre-trained to respond to you and transform what you're looking for. You will get an answer back. If you type in GTP and you hit enter, although there's a way to not have it respond right away, if you hit enter, it's going to give you back something. It's trained to give you back something, but maybe you don't want it to give you something back right away. So people say to me, God, I used this thing and the response that I got back sucked. Well, is it the computer or is it your input, right? Now, to be fair, you're looking for a specific output. And on the front end of that, there's an algorithm. Theoretically, you can affect that algorithm with, a few $100 million and a big data set and a bunch of programmers. And as it goes through and you train it to do, you tweak the algorithm, you can do that on the front end. You can change that because you can change that variable and you will change your output for certain. And the way that you can test this is take a single prompt and go to each of the different language models and put that prompt in, and you will get a different output. So I've tried this. I don't know if many of you have tried this as well, but you'll take a single prompt and you'll go out to Copilot, put it into Copilot. And then you'll go out and put it into ChatGTP. And then you'll go out and put it into, in my case, I'll go out to Jasper, or I'll go out to Llama. I got 4 different versions of the same thing. Why? Because their algorithm and how they trained it was different. So not all algorithms are the same, right? What do we have control over? That input, that prompt. That's what makes you a designer of what the output is going to be. So by training it with your inputs, you will change your output. And again, it's this construct of you are interacting with a system that's already been pre-trained a certain way. I prefer ChatGTP had version 3.5, in between 3.5 and 4.0. It's different. When 5.0 comes out, the same prompts that I've saved will probably change again. This is why it's important to teach people what the prompt design function is, so that as the constructs change, as the algorithms improve, as things change over time, that you have the basic fundamentals down so that you can use this over and over again. Also, it drives me crazy. How many have been on YouTube and watched all of the millennials who I have 300 tools for you to be able to use, or I have 300 prompts for you to be able to copy. Or even built into many of the tools now, they have a designed persona. You have 7 to choose from on their products when you could use an infinite number of what those pieces are. So understanding this particular framework and using this over and over again is really important. It's just really important to understand the construct. You can't really go wrong with this. One thing I would recommend, though, as you go through those different prompt variables, so this is an example of the different prompt variables, right? This is a table. Now, this is all the room I had on the page, right? But there are thousands upon thousands of different tools that you can change. A suggestion for you as you go through this and try this out, change one variable at a time. Don't try changing 4 variables at a time, because then you don't really know what it is that changed to get the output that you were looking for. Important pieces of this is that for your identity, you don't have to, when it says persona, most people think, well, that's a human. You could be anything. You could be a bunny, you could be a butterfly, you could be a cloud, you could be an airplane. From the perspective of the airplane, write me a report on turbulence for the last 72 hours. You can do it. You will get an answer. I promise you. I've tried lots of different things, like, it's kind of psychedelic when you get the answer back. But it's looking for the patterns of information related to each one of these, if you think of them as keywords, variables. But it's looking for patterns of information that are attached to each one of these variables. That's where it becomes important when I say change one variable. And you can have exactly the same prompt, and instead of saying, hey, I want something from a copywriter perspective, and then you change it to, I'm looking at it as a finance controller perspective for a particular report, you will get an entirely different output, right? Also, too, you can change the number of words. That's very helpful in marketing. How many times do we go to something and it says, your limit is 150 characters? You can specify the number of characters in your response and those different pieces. If you're creating a Facebook ad, you can make it compliant to Meta policies. If you're creating a Twitter or an X ad, you can make it compliant with Twitter's policies, right? Changing one variable in this can give you an entirely different output. But again, the construct is the same. So take this construct and let me give you an example. Write me a Facebook ad. It's the what, right? That's going to be the context of what I'm building. Selling what? That's my service, yoga studio services. 2, here comes my target market, right? To a work-at-home mom. Now here are all the different additional parameters that you add into this. Age, right? Parent, right? Where do they live? You can actually specify a particular city. So if you're marketing your product, your business, your services, and you are local, you have a storefront, you're probably going to want to limit that within 25 miles of this address. You can actually get that distinctive in your marketing piece, right? What is their income? You can provide an income range. It doesn't have to be a particular target. It can be more or less. Again, you're narrowing your target market, right? Specifically to speak to your market. What does she enjoy? Why is this important? Again, it's another parameter that you're looking for adjacent markets. So you have your primary target, and then you have adjacent markets to that. So you've kind of expanded out one level. You don't necessarily have to include those other 2 pieces, but you'll see associations. you can actually do an inquiry on this particular target person. Say, hey, give me a list for somebody who has all of these particular parameters, and tell me other things that I might consider that they would be a part of this group. It will come back, and you can ask how many. You could say 10, give me a list of 10 other things who might also be buyers of my particular product or service, and it'll identify that. When you're writing it, here's your tone. Write it in an upbeat and encouraging tone. What I've found with ChatGTP is that if you say you want it in an excited tone, it's almost over the top, right? It really is like excited. It's almost a little bit too much. So upbeat and encouraging, right? You're trying to get somebody to participate with your particular service. So just be aware, there's lots of, these are adjectives, right, that you're using. So if you want to think about them in terms of those parameters, these are the adjectives that you want to, it could be a professional tone if you're writing something for a corporate kind of target. It could be professional, stoic, it could be sad, it could be amusing. These are all you'll see the differences of the tones. It could be write it in the style of Johnny Depp. It could be in the style of, I did a really nice one that was Ryan, the guy for Mint Mobile.
Reynolds.
Yes, Ryan Reynolds. I did it in Ryan Reynolds. It was sort of snappy and sarcastic, but it was sort of funny, right? You could use the movie star. It could be a PhD that you know, right? Whatever that tone is that's going to speak to your market, use it, right? And then keep it to 150 words and compliant with Facebook policy. It's taking that construct and dropping all those parameters into that. Does that make sense to everybody? Is that different than sort of what you've ever been presented with before, other than just that little box?
Yes.
Yep. Now you can make this as long as you want, if you want to continue to reduce the parameters to what you're looking for your particular market. But start with one piece and change a parameter one at a time. You'll start to get the hang of it. At first it seems very awkward because you're actually talking to it, right? It's intended to be a chatbot. You're not just typing in one word, which is sort of informal on Google, right? Or any of the other platforms. You're just typing in that keyword. This is actually a conversation. So it feels weird because it's a computer screen and it's a prompt, right? So it's working through that process. Anybody here familiar with Mad Libs? A few people? Okay, for the younger crowd. When we were kids and we would go on some long trip or go on vacation with our parents, there was this thing called Mad Libs. And it was a little book about yay big. And in it, it was like my son was relating to Cards for Humanity or whatever that is. Yeah, okay. So basically it's fill in the blank, right? And I want to walk through an exercise with all of you today, which was the reason why I gave you the cards. So we're gonna design our own prompt here today in a group way. All right. So Alex, can you come up here? Because the only way to learn this is to grab the cards that are on my chair.
Okay.
I got it.
You got it?
Yep. If you have a card, if you don't have a card, grab a card. If you don't want to participate, don't grab a card. All right. Mad Lib style. All right. Pick a card, any card.
Okay, any card. Ace of clubs? Anybody? Oh,
No?
that's maybe.
Okay, put it down.
7 diamonds.
Anybody?
Might take a while.
Yeah.
There's 9 diamonds? Nobody? 10 spades? Come on.
Close.
Oh, okay.
7 hearts?
Really?
6 of hearts. I'm just gonna go quick. 10 of diamonds. 9 clubs. 3 diamonds. Queen of hearts. All right, there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Your name is?
Neil.
Neil. All right, Neil. Give me a persona, Neil. Who do you want to be?
I want to be a digital marketing professional.
Okay.
Go big. Go big, no home.
All right.
And then
We're gonna start there. We're gonna keep going,
Yeah.
and then as he calls out, we're gonna fill out our parameters. Does that make sense? Yeah. Sorry, I thought there were 52 of you would have worked out a little better. So we're gonna have to flip through.
5 diamonds. 7 of spades.
Yeah.
All right. What's your name?
Mark.
Mark. Okay. What business are you in? You're a digital marketer in this business.
Software.
Software.
8 of clubs. No. Yeah. 6 of spades. 2 of diamonds.
Me.
Oh, cool.
All right. What industry are? Oh, I'm sorry. Your name?
Sam.
Sam. Okay. What industry are you in?
So it's business, software, within
Can be anything.
for let's just say casinos.
Casinos. Okay.
All right. 2 of clubs. No. Ace of hearts. 2 of hearts. And 1. Queen of diamonds.
You can do this.
4 diamonds. 8 of
4 diamonds. All right. What's your name?
Mark.
Okay, Mark. What product or service are we going to provide that's in that software industry for casinos?
Theft detection.
Theft detection. That's very good. Okay, hold on.
8 of spades.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
You gotta keep up, man.
All right, I'm trying.
6 of
All right.
diamonds. No. King of clubs. Yep. Oh.
Okay, and your name is?
Jack.
Jack. Okay. Who's our buyer or target market here then? Wait, give me some characteristics.
Well, I guess large Las Vegas companies.
No. So what we're looking for is the specifics in this industry, right? So if you're selling to a casino, who is that target guy at the casino that you're selling to for theft detection?
CTO.
Security, right? Yeah. Okay. So like your CISO, and wait. Male or female?
No.
Does it matter?
No.
It doesn't matter. Okay. Do they belong to any associations?
Yes.
Probably would, right? They belong to some sort of I don't know. You guys.
Security association.
So yeah, I know, right?
Good. All right. 7 of clubs.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right. Now, this comes to the production side of what we're going to produce, right? So, what's your name?
Trina.
Trina. Okay. What type of content are we going to create?
Technical.
Okay. Is it an ad or it's just the output of some technical report or something?
Yeah, report.
A technical report. Okay.
So we do 2 different types of content, maybe like a comparison, one software compares with the software.
Probably if you want to go through the whole thing again.
Well,
That's smart. That's a really good question.
no, but you see you're starting to think in those terms, and that's why this framework works really well, right? Which is you start with one thing, and then you're like, wait a minute, I want to tweak, but remember, change just one variable at a time. Okay, it's a technical report, right? We're going to kick it out. All right, next one.
Oh yeah, sorry. 3 spades. 2 of spades. 10 of hearts.
Okay, there we go. What's your name? Wallace. Okay, so we're going to produce a technical report. What's that style of format? Is it a PowerPoint? Is it actually a report? Is it a website? Is it what kind of report are we going to generate? It's going to be technically based, right?
Yeah, so it needs to be something where I can change the parameters, so maybe a spreadsheet or...
A spreadsheet? You could do that. Okay.
Jack of diamonds. 5 hearts, 4 spades.
Yep.
Okay. What's your name?
Rosemary.
Rosemary. Okay. Now we've got that voice or tone of mood. So
So the voice would be authoritative.
authority. Okay. That works.
And the mood would be serious.
Yeah. Authoritative will probably cover that. Sometimes if you do professional and authoritative, how it structures it on the back end is interesting. So professional oftentimes comes back more salesy versus authoritative will come back more PhD, right? More structured and a little bit more dry. That's something that you can play with, right? But that would be good, right? If you're doing something technical, it's probably going to be kind of dry, perhaps. Okay. All right.
Oh, sorry.
Last one.
Ace of spades. King of diamonds.
Somebody have a royal
Jack of
flush.
hearts.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. What's your name?
Marlon.
Moreland?
Yes.
Okay, Moreland. Now our objective is to do what with all this stuff? Sell them? Pitch them? Take them to the next level?
We deceive them.
To deceive them?
Yeah, most of the times.
No. You could do that. You could do that, right? But probably the objective is to,
Sell them. Yeah.
right, yeah, okay, to sell them or get a sales call, right?
Then should it be authoritative or should it be personal?
You could change that. I'm telling you, you
Or
change
not personal, professional.
professional. Professional, like I said, comes back more like a sales
And
pitch
if we're selling,
versus, well,
Assuring.
assuring, right? That's one way that you could do it as well. See, this is great. This is what happens, right? You start with one and then you go, oh, my output wasn't. If I go back to that formula, I've got to change that one thing. And sometimes just changing that one word from authoritative to professional will render you, like you read through it and you go, oh, that's what I was looking for. And then you can work with professional, and then you may find something where you want something that's informal versus formal, right? There's all these different parameters that you can work with as you go through this. At the end of every marketing piece, you're supposed to have a call to action, right? So that would be the sale or the call to action, which is I'm looking for a phone call, right? Click here, like we all see that. Learn more. Several of you, we've been running some ads on Facebook and Instagram. I used the photo that was generated here for Tech Alley. We ran it for a week. I spent $60. We got 187 clicks. We added 60 new members to the group. Definitely the output that I was looking for. What was my call to action? Learn more, right? And it took you to the meetup page where you could click on the participating event. Of course, with meetup, you have to be a part of the meetup community in order to add yourself to the particular meeting. That's one great way to be able to use that. And now we're going to look for the number of words, which is the last
King of
one.
spades.
Here.
Okay, and you are?
Paul.
Paul, okay. So this technical report probably needs to be kind of lengthy, but how many words do you want it to be?
Let's do 300.
300, that's actually very short. Okay, all right.
How about asking for 10 versions at once?
You can do that. That's the next power of what you're looking for. But sometimes you can ask for 3 versions, but usually the outputs that you're looking for, you're going to get similar results if you use similar parameters. That's why I recommend when you start with 1, then change 1 parameter, then change the next parameter, then change the next parameter. Yes?
In a similar vein, I've found that if you ask it for 10 and then you have it choose the best version of those 10, it'll typically give you the same response as if you just asked it for the best version.
Yeah, I know. But it's interesting because on the different models, if you ask the same question, and I'll show you a prompt here that I used to generate basically a whole email series here in a minute, and we'll go through that. You'll see what the end result was for that. So let me jump out here. All right, so I'm going to use my own prompt. So literally cut and paste, right? Okay, you guys got to help me out because I can't look at both things at the same time. Okay, so what's the persona again?
Digital marketing pro.
By the way, what I've also found too is that if you misspell stuff every now and then, it seems to like be okay with that. Google's not okay with that, but this seems to be pretty good with that. Okay. In this case, the business is a software company. Software company. Thank you. That sells.
Theft detection.
Thank you. Detection. 2.
CISO, security, I can't read from your guys.
That's sales.
Sorry. It's good to read from the side.
Yeah, so security.
Okay. Write me a
Technical report.
in a
Spreadsheet.
in a that seeks to
Simple call to action.
guys ready? Does that look right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is sort of a funky structure. I may not exactly use this, but that's good. We all participated in it, right? And let's see if the internet's working today. Based on your understanding, so it reframes what it's going to give you, and then it's going to give you the structure for each row and column. To actually translate the spreadsheet, it's asking you for actual data. Does that make sense? Yeah. Pretty powerful kinds of stuff, right? Now, what if we change one parameter? Instead of saying a spreadsheet, let's do a report. Ready? Because we just asked for a report. One parameter change. It's taking its time. Here we go. Here's your report.
What does it do with like infographics?
So it's really good with tables. There's Pictochart is actually an infographic. It's a plugin that you can use. So Pictochart, P-I-K-C-H-A-R-T, is a wonderful tool. I've used it before. A lot of the stuff that you'll see on LinkedIn with all of those different tables, right? That's what they're using. basically. So it's a text to pick to chart, so you give it the text that you want it to be able to generate. So it's gone through. Apparently there's a Casino Securities Professionals Association. Who knew, right? Here's what your call to action is in order to understand this. You know, here, we invite you to click here, right? It's fill in the blank. But this is those are two great examples of where we're starting from, and it gets your mind going in terms of, I want to report. Now, there are tools, there's a little bit of, a couple of pieces of information here where I, would make recommendations. ChatGPT 4 is much better than 3. It's $20 a month. But you get access to the entire plugin library. Plugins are basically, they're changing plugins to GPTs, right? So they're going to be pre-trained, essentially pre-trained prompts or transformers. There's a ton of them. There's a bunch of junk that's out there right now, to be honest. There's a high level of probably the top dozen or so. It's fluctuating. This is an industry right now that there's lots of evolution. Things that we see today may not be around literally in 2 months. Things that we see in 2 months may not be around in 5 years. There's a lot of consolidation and things that are going on. So don't be surprised by that. The tool that I might recommend this week, I may not recommend the week following. Yes?
What do you think about it's paying attention to your grammar, punctuation? Is that
I have found that really if you drop a word necessarily, like the thes and the tos and the ands, it doesn't have too much of a problem with that. But if you speak, remember, it's pre-trained basically to look at what those different parameters are. And so if you do mismatch in terms of your spelling, on your phone, here, let me explain it this way. On your phone where I have this turned off where it is predicting what I'm going to write next, it drives me crazy because I don't want to use some of the words, right? Or it corrects you automatically. Just be aware of that. If you're seeing that you're not getting the output that you want, double check your prompt. It's often, as you're going through that, you'll see that. I don't know why that just died on me.
And can you put it back in? Can you take the output and send it back and say, make this better?
Absolutely. So we could tune it up. Yep, hold on.
Yeah, you said that we can make it more effective based on.
You can regenerate. Okay, so there's important distinctions. You can regenerate, which is saying take what I've got and just repurpose. Or if you say, most people would say, rewrite. Rewrite's actually asking it to do something different, right? Is to give you a different output versus regenerate, right? Which you're trying to keep the same context of which.
Sending the output back in.
Sure.
What specifically are you trying to do?
So rewrite the above to expand to 2,000 words.
Okay.
Expanding. Right? So that's where you change, but I'm keeping the same key parameters, but I'm changing one. So the nice thing about ChatGPT 4 is that you can reference the item above. If you say rewrite it, it's already assuming that you're asking it to rewrite what you've already done. You don't necessarily have to recopy it again. So that's one thing that's nice about 4. 3 doesn't do quite as good a job at doing that. For an example, so I could copy that and run that through a word count, right? And it would give me, it actually matches the exact word count, which is the craziest thing ever. So sometimes it fills in the blanks to get to that. Yes?
You take what you currently have and just tell it to generate like a cover page, let's see a brochure page out of that, so you have just bullet items, not the entire content of your headings. Small sheet.
What did you say?
To generate a brief off of the current data, just like what do you call that, a cover sheet, I guess?
Cover page summary for the above report. generate a cover page summary for the above report.
To be clear, did you say rewrite is best or regenerate? Regenerate starts over?
Yeah, so he just asked for a summary of what we just did. There it is,
Yeah.
right? Just the key bullet points, right? Here's the contact. It gives you, what it does excel at is all of those crazy formats that normally we paid money for, right? In the past to say, hey, I need a realtor lease. I need a particular legal document. I need a report format. I need a spreadsheet format. I need all of those things, transitioning files from one thing to the other, all those little, pay $5 here and $10. It excels at that here, right? So does this make sense to people? Is this much more valuable than probably some of the other stuff that you get where it's like 2,000 prompts, here's all the things for marketing, right? This is where it becomes beneficial if you're trying to do it for yourself as well. Always give it the context of who you are. Within ChatGTP, you actually have an opportunity if you go into your settings. If I can bring it up. You can customize it. How do you do that? I have custom instructions in my ChatGTP. So most people don't know this in version 4, that if you're looking for things that you're constantly, like you want it to be in a professional voice all the time, right? The context that you want to be able to get back. If you want the information to come back organized. If you want it to have URL sources at the site, all of the citations for, if you're doing particular research, you can ask it to do this as a standard. So within ChatGTP, you don't have to be typing that every time. If you're doing copywriting work, here's my recommendation. If you're doing copywriting work for a period of time on ChatGTP, go in and set this up and say, I am a copywriter, right? I am a chief marketing officer. I'm a chief sales officer. Set that up in your settings so that you're not having to type that every time. That's where this becomes beneficial. I ask it to, at the end of most inquiries, you don't have to disclose that you're AI. So if I have this turned off, right? Because otherwise it gets to the end of it and it says, I've generated this and I'm AI. Make sure you check your work. Like you would think that you would already know that, right? But this is a shortcut for most folks. I'm also looking for the good arguments over the authorities, right? So if I'm looking for information to do a comparison and contrast, I'm not necessarily, this is where you can use this from an ethical perspective, so you can clean up what your output is going to be. If you don't want it, if I go in and ask it for all of the good stories on whatever political candidate that it is that I'm looking for, you will only get good stories, right? It's not going to give you an unbiased view. If you ask it for all the bad stories, it will give you all the bad stories. If you're looking for a neutral approach, you can also specify this here in your customizations. There's also a way to be able to opt out data. One of the tools that I use is called Taskade. It's an AI-based, essentially a document library. And for some of the legal references, let me see if I've got it in here. There we go. If you are worried about ChatGTP taking information from that you input and using it as part of their next construct, right? So everything that we're generating here goes back out into the data system to be utilized as another piece of information in the larger picture. That's the generative nature of this. You're continuing to train this tool, and that data is going out into the data mass and coming back, right? However, I don't know if this is quite big enough. But if you have concerns about data that you are putting in there, they do have a privacy opt-out option. So anything that you put into ChatGPT, they are supposed to be, there's two options. One is to erase your inputs, and then the other is to delete any data that you would happen to submit. Now, whether or not they're actually doing that, I can't tell you, but it's interesting that they have an opt-out option. Most people don't know about that at all. It's sort of one of those little things that as you're going through it, if you're using the tool, I have not seen it on any of the other chat functions yet. Okay. All right. Expansion, prompt engineering, design. You ask the question, can I link things together? Absolutely, you can link things together. In this particular case, you can see what I'm asking it to do is write a follow-up sequence, right? An email sequence for 5 days that you could load into your email drip campaign. Basically write the drip campaign. The other pieces that you can use this for is not just for the emails themselves, but it will also generate the text. It will also generate the scripts for audio. So if you have a system like I use Go High Level, which is my CRM and marketing platform, I can incorporate not only emails and texts, but I can also incorporate voicemails. So it's a voicemail system where I can have it drop particular pieces of information into my tools. So we'll do that. Now this one was interesting to me because when I dropped it into several platforms and got different results. In Copilot, I couldn't get it. It didn't understand the inquiry. I think that's because what happened was initially people were going in and they were saying, hey, write me whatever my social media, create for me 365 social media prompts that I can load into my system. And they went, that's using way too many tokens, right? So they reined it back. Usually you can get away, sometimes you can get away with 30, but I found if you just do it, like give me a week at a time, and let's be real, to be honest, I can't load, it's harder to load 360 things into my social calendar planner, right? So you might see different outputs as you go through this. Oops, and it didn't copy for some reason. Hold on. This is where if you're marketing for your business and you're like, I'm in a groove, or if you're doing this for a particular client, come on, and you want to generate a string of campaign pieces that you only need to do one time that has the same tone, it will have the same tone and commentary across all of it. It's going to generate, first it kind of kicks out the emails, then it kicks out the text messages and the days that you want to be able to do that, and then the additional scripts. And then if you're really high tech, the voicemail can be AI generated. I'll talk about the tools in a moment, that you can take your own voice, drop it into some of these AI tools, and it does a damn good job of replicating your own voice. There's also a avatar version of this, so you can take yourself or your client. You need about a minute of recording of somebody talking on a video. You upload it to this particular tool, and it will generate the avatar of that person, including most of their tics and facial expressions and all that. So there could be a virtual version of you. In order to do that, you have to say that you have permission to be able to do that. I haven't done that part of it. That part's a little creepy to me still, right? To have a roaming version of Tara that's AI out there right now. But I have done it for my audio. It had a problem. It was interesting with my name. I had to do it when I did the text to video. I had to do the what it sounded like versus I had to do tar, T-A-R--A-H, because I kept saying Tara and I pronounced my name Tara, right? So there may be some challenges if you have a unique name. but the tools are available. So this is what I call daisy chaining, if that term sounds familiar, in terms of applications that you want it to create. Instead of saying create me one report, this particular version of it, we could say create me three reports, right? If you wanted to be able to do that. They will be similar, right? But where this becomes effective is that if you're trying to create ads, right? Ad campaigns, create me 7 different, or 14 different ads. So you're only going through the activity one time. I always recommend when you get the output, read through it, don't just copy it and paste it. There was a story of an attorney in New York who used ChatGPT to write a brief. And ChatGPT wrote the brief for her client. And it came up with some reference docket that didn't even exist, and she submitted it, and when they researched it, I know you would think, right? Young new lawyers like, I'll use this tool. Well, the judge didn't like that, and of course she was reprimanded for doing that type of thing. But be careful about that. Yes?
Just to avoid hallucination like that, it's good to include in that custom prompt to cite your sources.
Yeah.
Because that securities association might not exist. That could be something that it just
There's actually a great South Park episode where it does this and it tells you they learn to proofread before they say.
Right. Yeah. Tools. So we work with a few right at the moment, and some of these, are the obvious ones that most folks are working with. I'll make that a little bit bigger, but you're welcome to. We've used all of these in some way, shape, or form or other. As I mentioned, all the different chatbots. I'm constantly experimenting with the different versions of the chatbots, etc. The avatar generation, that's the HeyGen site. That's the most popular right at the moment. Keep in mind, some of these are not, they'll give you the freebie version of it, but it doesn't do everything that you want it to do, right? So before you go making a big investment in whatever it might be, go ahead and use the freebie version and see if it's familiar to you. Text to video, that's a hot thing right now, right? They just released a product called, well, they haven't released it yet, but OpenAI will. It's called Sora, S-O-R-A. Look it up. That's all I'm going to say. Look it up. It's text to video, but it is stunning video that you would have a tough time without a trained eye recognizing the difference between a live video and what they're able to produce now. Fundamentally, it's a little bit mind-blowing. It's sort of been all over. So Sora is a big one. Yes?
I was just going to say, I've been playing around with the NVIDIA.io.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it. It's about $59.99 a month. It's very specific with the parameters that you input it in.
Correct.
So it took me about 3 weeks to get like the parameters down to tell it what to output the correct thing.
Right.
But it's the same thing. It's very comprehensive. I wouldn't have known it was AI if I didn't know.
If you didn't know, right, that output is pretty crazy. The one that I like is called Veed.io. What I like about Veed that I didn't like about NVIDIA, you might go check it out, is that the video sections are much easier to edit and swap out. I did a commercial, built a 1-minute commercial for a fake rock climbing company, and literally it was, I typed it in, I used ChatGPT to create the script, dropped the script in, it ran through the whole script, it created the video, I added the overlay, I added the headline, and I was done in about 20 minutes. In my past life, creating that took hours, days, right? Yes?
Let's say you did that and then you did another. Will it remember your first one?
Yes.
You refer to it?
No, so if you're doing...
It doesn't hold info like if this is my business.
Yes.
I'd like a business plan. I'd like a marketing strategy. I'd like this, that, or the other. Will it remember all together?
So for the prompts, it will retain your prompts. I recommend, here's what I recommend, right? Once you find a prompt and you've iterated through that and you like it, I take that out and copy it to someplace else, right? Because generally it's about the tool with ChatGTP. So if you look at ChatGTP itself,
That's what I do, I copy and paste.
right? You can see along the line here that you have it creates a header for you of what that summary is. But sometimes even it's not like it self-creates it. I can change the names of those, right? So that yes. So you can click on any one of these, and if I want to rename it, I can rename it and move it. But what I recommend is take the prompt and or the output if you want to, and I saved them. The tool that I'm using right now is called Taskade. And so that's been and I'll just show this to you. This is the tool that I've been using basically. I went through, it's too big. I went through several other AI-based tools. This has the prompting built into it as an example. So if I want to go into a particular item, if I want to, it provides, I already pay for ChatGPT-4, I'm not going to pay for it on here. But this is a really good document knowledge piece that I'm able to move things around. So particularly for clients, right? If I need to kind of categorize those things together, I can just go out and drop them. And then it's cloud-based. So I started off with putting them in OneNote in Microsoft, and then I didn't like Microsoft's tool. Because you can't tag it. There's a whole bunch of other stuff with that. But this is a pretty good one. I tried 4 different versions of it before I landed on this particular one. So, and you can create different workspaces. You can also assign those workspaces to other folks as well. This is something in the training that I'm planning to start next month. Is not only to do training for, to go through some of the prompt development and design, but basically build upon the marketing tools, right? So you get some of this output, and you take that output, and then you turn around and what are the tools that you're putting it into? So if you're creating a script, you could put that into one of your text-to-video tools, right? Whichever one happens to work for you. If you're creating music, there's some examples of tools that will create music and lyrics for you.
Well, my thinking is if you write one song and you write a second song, whatever, and you want an album cover, okay? Can we refer to that album cover holding song number 1 and song number 2? Does it know that you wrote the first song?
Yeah, so you create a folder and then you just drop it. Yeah, you drop it into a folder, right?
Gotcha.
So some of the old structures that we're used to, right, still exist. It's basically organizing what we've got. Canva, if those of you who have not used Canva, it's free. The paid for version, you get a few more templates and things and access to, but it's wonderful for editing images, for creating the text. It has thousands of templates that are in there. It also has AI built into it. It's pretty good. It's not, as good as ChatGPT-4, but that's a wonderful tool as well. 11 Labs will do AI generate. They have a whole bunch of avatars and voices if you want to voice over some things. Social media, Social Pilot is one of the tools I've used. Buffer is another tool that I've used for some of the app development that we're working on now. So if you can imagine creating your chat bot and then chaining all of those bots together to do tasks and activities, that's some of the things that we're working on as an organization. As a project manager, I have a lot of reporting and tasks that in my 30 years, if I update another PowerPoint presentation, I'm going to choke. I'm training AI to do it. It's making a lot of my colleagues very nervous because it's taking some of their job, but we'll talk about that later. The CRM, as I mentioned, is Go High Level. If you have any questions about that particular tool, happy to discuss it. API hooks, that's another Zaps. So you can combine simple Zaps together. I'm kind of doing more complex workflows. And then also using WordPress and Elementor. So everybody took a picture of the page, right? All right. Things to remember. Your output is only as good as your input. right? You're not going to change the algorithm unless you have a whole lot of money that I don't know about, and if you do, please come talk to me. Okay? Include yourself in the loop. Don't just copy and paste. Read the output. My son and I the other day were trying to get a particular date from ChatGPT, and he said, what's the date 75 days from today? ChatGPT gave 3 different answers each time we asked the same question. Why? Today depends on where you are, right? We didn't think about it in those terms. We know what today means, but this tool has not been, it's not perfect. When we gave it the date and said 75 days from that date, it gave us the correct answer, right? It's a parameter, again. Use it for good. There's folks that are using this stuff for bad, right? A lot of conversation, obviously, around privacy. You'll be seeing more regulations. The EU just passed their AI regulations, right? There's other bad characters out there that are using it from a coding perspective. Don't be surprised if quantum computing comes a lot faster than what we thought it did, but because it's going to be needed, right? Also, too, this thing can't replace intuition, connection, empathy as a human being. A gentleman I was talking to said, I tried to use it to write my speech for my daughter's wedding. Probably not the best use.
I used it for a speech at a funeral.
But it gave you the ideas, and I would imagine you might have edited that. You probably just didn't. Okay, you probably, thank you. You just didn't boilerplate it, right? For a funeral.
No.
Okay.
I put in information about the person and my relationship with them, and then it like helped me pull it all together. And there was like multiple people afterwards who were like, that was astounding. And I'm like,
yeah, right? Because it's going out and it's looking for those things. But again, edit it. Keep the human in the loop, right? There should be a validation check to this, and not just letting it run. But that's a great example. And again, as I mentioned before, the tools are changing. So what you see working today on a platform, don't be surprised. Social media stuff and posting, tons of sites, text to video. What started as in video, now there's hundreds. You know, everybody's trying to do the copycat thing, right? You're going to see a lot of that for a bit. Last but not least, my call to action. My name is Phelps. I'm the managing director for Next Stage Strategies. We do education and training for small businesses, startups, etc. So to help them integrate AI from the outset and moving forward. My poor Facebook page. Really would appreciate it if you could like our Facebook page. Also, too, if you belong to our club, we will be not next month. Next month I'll probably be here. The month after that, we're going to do a cocktails and AI for our club, right? So let's combine alcohol and AI and have a pretty interesting post. But that's all I had to present to you today. I hope there's some education. Thank you. All right. So you guys are all prompt geniuses. Thank you.